Well, I think that a lot of the Western world does agree with her that we do need to be more hardline on China. And you see that under President Biden, that actually he hasn't changed much of the American approach to China since Donald Trump left. So he's actually kept a lot of it, but just made it slightly more palatable to his Western allies like London and in the EU as well. As to Liz Truss herself, though, I feel that, with the amount of interventions that she's making since leaving office, every new intervention has, less marginal effect. And it actually does, I'm not sure anyone finds her particularly influential when you're talking about the world's capitals.
It is interesting because this is the first major speech she's given. Of course, she's written that article in the Sunday Telegraph. She's given an interview with The Spectator. But this is the first sort of big international intervention she's made on an area. And it's interesting that it's not domestic policy. This is foreign policy. And she's on the billing of this conference in Tokyo, along with some other former prime ministers. The former Prime Minister of Australia, the former Prime Minister of Belgium as well. Speaking alongside Guy Verhofstadt, which some viewers may well remember is one of those big Euro-federalist Brexit battlers. It's interesting to see them aligned on this issue.
Unlikely bedfellows, and I think Liz Truss recognised that herself. There was a bit of banter when she was doing her speech, saying, Guy, I'm looking at you, when she's talking about the EU's economic might and using that to counter China as well. And I think that just goes to show how China has become a cross-party, cross-issue topic for a lot of Western politicians, that no matter if you're on the left or the right, people believe in standing up to China much more. I think where people disagree on is just how to do that. But Liz Truss, it is interesting that she's making a foreign policy intervention because she clearly does really care about it personally, not like perhaps Rishi Sunak, who will say things on it if he has to, but is clearly not one of his hobby horses. Whereas for Liz Truss, she does feel this very, very strongly.
And just finally, looking at where Rishi Sunak is now on this issue, on the whole issue of whether or not China should be deemed a threat to the United Kingdom. He said it should be deemed a threat in the leadership campaign, but now his government is using the words a systemic challenge. Why the watering down?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this all comes from Americans, the American side, I think, for Rishi Sunak, which is that Joe Biden has really refrained from using the word threat to describe China. He describes Russia as a threat, but not China as a threat. And Rishi, as this kind of California born again, banker born again politician, I think really is following DC's lead on this one. So he doesn't want to step out of line to what the leader of the free world is essentially saying. And during the leadership, he was campaigning against Liz Truss and he was trying to kind of out-hawk Liz Truss, which was never going to be a good strategy because he can't out-hawk Liz Truss, as we've talked about. She does feel this very, very strongly. So now he's had to row back and actually kind of do what he actually believes in. The question is, will the Conservative Party allow him to do that, or will they kick up about it?